The time is now 7 o'clock.
The South Korean government rolled out a series of measures to boost the birth rate, including some words that may need some changing, words that have negative connotations. And these would include words like childcare leave, maternal wall, and even the word preemie to change social perceptions over marriage, childbirth, and childcare. In reality, the predominant emotion young people associate with marriage-related posts online were things like sadness and fear. Yes, words matter, but will changing terminology actually change the realities that incite these negative emotions? I think that's the bigger question. I'm Catherine. This is Morning Wave in Busan on Thursday, March 13th on BEFM, 부산영어방송. Good morning, Wavers. Welcome to our program on this Thursday morning. So welcome, and especially for those of you who are joining us on our YouTube live stream right now, I have an extra welcome. The competition is fierce. So I think number one today might be, I can't see at the very top. Is it Benny today? I think. Everybody thinks they're first, and then by the time they type it in, yeah, so congrats, Benny. You're number one today. What comes to mind when I mention things like marriage, childbirth, childcare? Well, it might depend on where you are in relation to these milestones in life. But with young people, there are more negative responses, than positive. Well, a non-profit research institute, the Korean Peninsula Population Institute for Future. Well, this institute analyzed some 50,000 posts on a community, and this community is for professionals, and that had to do with things like marriage, childbirth, and childcare. Almost a third of the emotions expressed on posts on marriage was sadness, and almost a quarter, fear. On the contrary, feelings of happiness only accounted for 9% of marriage-related posts, 7% from childbirth, and 13% from childcare-related posts. The institute analyzed that, despite the small rebound in the birth rate, there are deeply rooted negative perceptions when it comes to marriage and family planning, especially among the younger generation. And this is perhaps why the Government Committee on Aging, Society, and Population Policy announced that they're going to be working to discourage the use of certain terms that come with these negative connotations. The committee identified some of these terms specifically, words such as 육아휴직, so in English we say child care leave, parental leave, 경력 단절 여성. So in English, we would say basically, the maternal wall. We used to talk about the glass ceiling, but, that maternal wall. And also, 미숙아, premature baby. We also shorten that to preemie. But here's the thing, discouraging, the use of these types of terminology, these words, don't actually get rid of why people have these negative ideas, these negative associations with childcare or childcare leave and the fear of, suspension of their careers if they choose to get married or if they choose to have a baby. So what will actually be done so that people won't have to cut their career short for the sake of family planning? That is, I think, the bigger question, a question that definitely needs addressing, something we need to tackle together, though. We can't just leave it up to the government or say, hey, I'm not there yet, so I'm not going to worry about it. It does affect the country as a whole, so something to think about. Now it's time for a text topic on this Thursday morning. How were you disciplined or punished when you were in school? So it's definitely kind of like a latte question, back in the day. Yes, so how did your parents discipline you? So when I talk about discipline, I'm talking about school, 학교에서 parents, how do they discipline you? And if you are a parent right now, how do you discipline your own children? Is it completely different from how you were raised or similar? 자, 나 때는 학교 체벌은 그리고 부모님은 어떻게 혼내셨나요? 혼내셨나요? And I know it's a different era. 옛날에는 there was probably more corporal punishment, like a little bit of 맴매 and stuff like that. I know it's a completely different era. 지금 여러분은 자녀에게 어떻게 하는지도 궁금하고요. 그래서 체벌과 훈육, that's the main topic today from your, past when you were younger and also how you deal with that right now. So send in the messages to BFM's live stream, live chat on YouTube. So you can go to the YouTube platform, type in BEFM or 부산영어방송 to find our channel, subscribe, and also log in to chat with our other waivers. On your phone, pound 9050, shop 9050. That's going to cost you 100 won. You can also send in your messages to me for free through Kakao Talk. So how you go about doing that is same thing. Go to Kakao, type in BEFM in order to find us, to add us, and then you can send in your messages and photos as well. The ways you can listen to us. If you're in Busan and you have a radio, 90.5 or 103.3 FM, depending on where you are in Busan. Also, like I said, we are streaming live on YouTube as we speak. You can watch again at your leisure. We have two apps, our own BEFM app and also the Patbang app, where you can listen to the Wa글와글 segment. Today is Thursday, can you believe? Chris with Beyond the Headlines. That's in hour number 1. Stephanie's coming in for hour number 2 with City Insights. For our special interview, there has been this kind of like race to the moon as of late. We've talked about this for the past, past couple of years. Well, Firefly Aerospace's Blue Ghost lunar lander did successfully touch down on the moon. That's just a few days back, March 2nd. So what are the significant things that we can really expect, not just with this lunar landing, but the whole idea, this industry where it's becoming much more privatized. So we're going to find out more about this that's coming up in hour number 2. I'll be back with today's headlines. It is now 7:07. These are today's headlines. Government shifts to emergency response mode amid Trump's tariffs. The South Korean government will go into a full emergency response mode as a 25% U.S. tariff on all steel and aluminum imports went into effect yesterday. Government seeks inheritance tax reform. South Korea is seeking to replace its decades-old estate tax system with an inheritance tax, easing tax burdens on beneficiaries in an effort to ensure tax fairness and align with global standards. Flights banned over Constitutional Court ahead of Yoon's impeachment ruling. The government has temporarily banned all flights over the Constitutional Court ahead of the impending ruling on President Yoon Suk-yeol's impeachment, in effect now until next Wednesday. Nearly 1 in 10 South Korean seniors suffer from Alzheimer's. Nearly 1 out of 10 older adults in South Korea suffer from Alzheimer's disease, with the number of dementia patients expected to surpass 1 million next year, data showed yesterday. U.S. team on way to Russia to discuss a Ukraine ceasefire plan. U.S. President Donald Trump says American representatives are currently on their way to Russia to discuss a U.S. proposal of a Ukraine ceasefire. These are today's headlines. time for Busan Updates. We have Sue in the studio. Good morning.
Good morning.
Yay. So today, for a text topic, we are tackling the whole, 훈육.
Right.
Raising children or you as a child, punishment or anything like that. So how was it back in, in your days?
At home, there wasn't 사랑의 매 in my house, but I remember me and my brother being kicked out in the
Out of the home?
Yes, outside the home. We didn't live in an apartment, so it was just a house. So I think either my mom or dad was like, go stand outside the gate for like an hour. Like it was the cold,
How old were
freezing
you,
winter. And I think I was like 6 or 7.
But you still remember?
I do remember just that one episode.
Because it was so cold?
Yes.
Do you remember why you got in
I don't
trouble?
even remember. It was me and my brother.
I'm sure you guys were
Looking
fighting over
sad.
something, right? Oh, goodness. What about in school, though?
In school, I think we were like, I was so scared of teachers getting mad. So I would just rather try not to cause any trouble. But then when I did come in late for classes and stuff,
What would happen?
I was also stood outside of the classroom.
Oh, really?
I remember that.
So in your era, Sue, was there corporal punishment? Meaning, did teachers, not you specifically,
Yes.
was there,
Yes.
use of the ruler or things like that?
Yes,
It was quite
yes.
common?
Yes.
Okay. Well, of course, different era once again. We're going to jump into our first update. This is regarding our city, Busan, ranking second in Global Hub City Index evaluation.
Busan City and the Busan Development Institute, 부산연구원, shared the results of their trial run for the Global Hub City Index. And this index was created to measure how well Busan is achieving of becoming a global hub city and a happier place for citizens under the current administration. And the index looks at two main things: urban competitiveness, 도시 경쟁력, and
Right.
quality of life. So each with 5 key strategies. And the 5 strategies for urban competitiveness include indicators such as logistics hub, financial innovation, digital new industries, tourism and MICE, meaning meetings, incentives, conferences, and exhibitions, and climate tech, 기후tech. This is about addressing the climate crisis with sustainable solution. And the 5 areas for quality of life include culture and sports, marine leisure, citizen safety, carbon neutrality, and happy communities.
And so we want to know more about the results, right? So second is not bad, right? But so
I
we
think
want
it's
to hear about the
great.
results.
Yes. As of last year, overall Busan ranked second among the 7 major metropolitan cities and placing second in urban competitiveness and first in quality of life. And the urban competitiveness index showed the biggest improvement in financial innovation, followed by logistics hub and tourism and MICE. And for the quality of life index, the happy communities category saw the most significant improvement. And since 2018, Busan's overall score has gone up by 3.41%, with urban competitiveness improving by 2.37% and quality of life increasing by 3.8%. And moving forward, the City and Research Institute plan to use these results to refine their long-term goals and make improvements where needed.
Yes, so number 2 is good, but till the day we become number 1, go Busan, right? All right, next, the city will establish the first ever AI usage ethics guidelines for public officials among all the metropolitan cities.
Yes. So Busan is the first metropolitan city planning to use AI more in public administration sector, aiming to improve fairness, reliability, and accountability while offering services that citizens can trust. To make sure things stay safe and ethical, AI ethics guidelines will help public officials use AI responsibly and avoid misuse that could cause fairness or trust issues. And the guidelines will stress that while AI can assist in tasks, public officials will still have the final say in decision-making process. And an AI subcommittee will also review ethical concerns and suggest improvements if needed. And after a legal review in March, the guidelines will be finalized and applied to the city's offices, and government employees will also receive training to strengthen their AI skills.
Yes. So thanks for letting us know about this. So we're going to be the first among all the metropolitan cities to do this. Next up, the blueprint for the construction of a comprehensive sports stadium and a youth hostel within the Ilgang recreation area. This has been completed.
Yes. So this is a key sports infrastructure project being promoted by Gijanggun County. And the sports complex will have 10,000 seats and include a soccer field and a 400-meter athletics track. And it will be a 5-story building with a 3-story parking garage, and once finished, it will host various events and training camps.
Yes. So what about the youth hostel? Do you have details on this?
Yes. The youth hostel will also be a 5-story building with one underground level. It will have 90 rooms and accommodate up to 310 people. And the original plans for pension is like vacation rental places, and pool villas were changed due to youth activity regulations, but it will feature a campground, outdoor swimming pool, and sports plaza. And the project will cost 39.4 billion won, 394억 won for the sports complex, and 24.3 billion for the hostel. They are fully funded by the county, and both will be completed by 2028. And there will be key venues for national sports events and local activities.
Oh, so that's coming up in just 3 years. So I'm sure people will look forward to that. Next up, let's talk about this. From Dadepo sunset to the Haeundae sunrise, you can enjoy a night-long walk along the Gal매길 Trail. So tell us about this.
The 2025 오륙도 two-night long-distance walking festival will take place on March 29th to 30th. And the event starts at Dadepo Beach, watching the sunset, and participants walk through the night for 56 kilometers, finishing at Haeundae Beach at sunrise. And under the theme, experience the 5 colors and 6 pleasures of Busan's night walk from Dadepo's golden sunset to Haeundae sunrise. It highlights 5 scenic routes, and the 5 colors are well-known paths and trail in Busan, which are covered in the night walk course.
So it sounds like are they literally walking all night?
Yes.
Wow.
So I looked it up. If you finish the full course, it would take about 12 to 13 hours.
Oh my goodness.
Yes.
Okay, so we need to learn about, you mentioned 6 pleasures. So what are they?
So they include excitement of meeting new people, joy of walking a long path, enchanting views at night, connecting with nature, relaxing sound of the waves, and the mystery of the early morning hot springs. So I'm curious about that. There are 3 routes, full course. So I will, that is 56 kilometers, and half course is 22 kilometers.
Yes.
And evening sunset course is 7 kilometers.
Okay, that's doable.
Yeah.
The 7 kilometers. I don't know about the 56 kilometers. So give us details regarding the routes.
So the full course begins at Dadepo Beach, passing through Ulsukdo Island, Daejeon Ecological Park, Daedong Hwamyeong Bridge, and Hwamyeong Arboretum, and Kumjeongsan Fortress, Oncheonjang, Oncheonjeon, Suyonggang River, Minlakgyo Bridge, and Dongbaeksum Island before finishing at Haeundae Beach.
Yes.
And the full course highlights the beauty of Busan's mountains, rivers, and seas, and passing through half of the city's districts, which are 8 districts. And the half course follows the same route and ends at Daejeon Ecological Park.
I see.
So organizers hope that this event will promote Busan tourism, and participants who complete the routes will receive a completion certificate and a badge.
Okay, well, and also you're going to be real healthy after this. So tell us the date again, just so we can remind our listeners.
So it starts on March 29th, and for further details, you can find out at the Green Walking and Busan Trails Association website.
All right. Thank you for all the good information today. We'll check in with you tomorrow. Thank you, Sue.
Thank you.
And here is your traffic and weather. It is now 7:19. Here is your traffic report for right now. It's looking quite slow on the Dongso overpass from Pyeongnaekor ramp to the old Gaekum tollgate. Heavy traffic on Geodae-dero from Gyodae intersection to Hamajong intersection. Congested on Haeundae-ro from the Wondong interchange to Jaesongdong three-way intersection. Also congested on Mandokdae-ro from Minam intersection to Namsanjeong station. Currently, it is already 10 degrees Celsius. Under partially cloudy skies, the daytime high is expected to go up to 16 today. Across the nation, there is thick fog across Incheon, Gyeonggi, and parts of Chungnam along the western coast in the morning, so be extra careful. Most of the country will be under the effect of the yellow dust, the hwangsa, from China and Mongolia. So you might want to have your mask on hand today. This was your traffic and weather.
Are you an early bird? Are you up to date on the news? Are you a trendsetter? For all of the biggest issues from Busan to the world and useful information you need, right here on Morning Wave in Busan.
It's time for Haley and News Digest. Good morning.
Good morning.
I had a dream about you yesterday.
Oh, did you really?
And the and the thing is this.
Literal dreamboat.
Literal dream
Yeah.
about Haley. We were arguing about what we were going to wear. And then 진짜요. 꿈을 꿨는데.
Are you sure that wasn't reality?
No.
Okay.
And then I woke up and I was just like, but we never discuss what we're
We
going to
never
wear.
do.
We
but
never do.
Real story, I thought about wearing green today.
I had to
about
think
it.
like 3 times. I have
Yeah.
2 green sweaters.
Yeah.
This is like the other one. And I was like, what if Haley? So I purposely chose a non-V-neck
Oh.
and a non-round neck, just a mock turtleneck, because I was like, I think Haley has like a round neck.
I do have a
green
round
one.
neck.
Right. So
It's
I
my
was just like-
sister's, but it's mine now.
So therefore, I was just like, okay, I'm gonna go with green, but I'm gonna go with a mock turtleneck so that we
I
don't
don't-
like twin too
Right.
much.
I don't know why. Maybe it's because it's spring. I'm gravitating towards green. I saw this really cute green cardigan,
Right.
ivory with green stripes at a storefront yesterday, and I can't stop thinking about it.
Go
I'm
back.
I'm gonna wait because the rule is like 24 hours. So I saw it yesterday afternoon. I'm gonna wait until this afternoon and maybe tomorrow. We'll
Maybe
see.
go back.
We'll see. Yeah.
My rule, 5 days, and by that time I forget usually.
But then by that time it's gone.
Yes,
Yeah,
that's
it's like the new
true.
season.
All right, we're talking about discipline, punishment. Back in your day,
I don't know.
not many years ago, but back in the day, yes. What was it like?
So I went to school here until like the 3rd grade, and teachers usually don't like super punish 3rd graders, 1st, 2nd, and 3rd graders. So we did a lot of, now that I think about it, it's like good physical activity. The 손들기, we had to put our arms up, but then it had to be like your elbows had to be straight.
팔 너무 귀엽.
But
So cute.
yeah, but then yeah, you don't have to zoom out that much.
She loves playing with a camera.
yeah. Or the plank, the 엎드려 뻗쳐. Which now
the
that
plank.
I do that at the gym for my own, not pleasure, but
your
for my own
health.
health. So
Yes.
yeah, now it's like biceps and cores.
You're like,
man. Yeah.
no problem, man.
Exactly. Now no problem. And then at home, I am a huge subscriber to the birth order theory. And
Which
as the
is?
middle,
The middle child.
The middle child. So as the middle child, we were born, or we were at least bred with that 눈치. Like I could read the room. And I saw
Yes.
my sister getting yelled at, and I was just like, okay, so don't do that, or at least do it secretly. Don't get caught doing it.
Right.
Idiot.
That's a secret. Don't get caught.
Don't get caught.
Right.
Like do whatever you want, but just do it
들키지
secretly.
않아야 돼요.
Exactly.
네.
Why are you getting caught?
센스를 챙겨야 돼.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. Read the room. So, yeah.
Oh, so thank you to can I Marina?
Yeah, Marina, thanks.
Thanks, Marina.
Yeah.
Just outed Haley's sister. All right, let's get into our first item. We're going to begin with some tariff-related issues. Countries are pushing back against Trump's tariffs.
I mean, speaking of punitive action.
Yes.
So Canada has announced a reciprocal 25% tariff. So this would be over 28.8 billion Canadian dollars worth of goods imported from the U.S. And then Donald Trump, previously to imposing the 25% tariff on all steel and aluminum, U.S. President Donald Trump has suspended a plan to double U.S. tariffs on Canadian steel and metal imports. So it would have been 50% because the Canadian province of Ontario suspended charges of 25% electricity tariff that is sent to some U.S. states. So this has been a huge back and forth going between the two very strong, previously strong allies. And then let's go to another bloc, the European Union or the EU.
Right.
They've decided to impose counter tariffs of that would be worth about $28.3 billion to American goods. Well, but Trump said this might be more reciprocal tariffs coming. Basically, whatever they charge us, we're charging them. And he stated that if the EU charges 20 or 200% tariffs, doesn't matter. They'll do the same. So that's where they stand.
Yes.
And then let's come back to South Korea. The 25% steel and aluminum tariffs, of course, that affects South Korea as well, especially export-driven cities like Pohang, Incheon, and Ulsan, whose livelihoods do depend on steel, aluminum, and related products.
Indeed.
They're really looking into how to counter this and, various countermeasures.
And so that is definitely on the lines of many, excuse me.
I think we know that it's
That
like the
comes
yellow
out.
dust is coming. I woke up with a bit of a and the runny nose.
Exactly. So everybody be warned, take your mask with you. And now we're going to talk about the latest request from the U.S. cattle industry over South Korea's beef import policy.
Right. So cattle, we were talking about livestock beef. So in the States, the National Cattlemen's Beef Association, the NCBA, has asked the Trump administration to help lift what South Korea has, a ban on American beef imports from cattle that are aged 30 months or older. So this is in line with the Trump administration's trade representative's review of unfair practices. So this age restriction, so South Korea does not import American cattle that's 30 months or older. That was put in place back in 2008. That was when the whole mad cow disease scare was going around.
Indeed.
So the U.S. Cattlemen's Association, they pointed to the growth within the U.S. beef sales in South Korea as evidence that Korean consumer confidence over U.S. beef has improved significantly since 2008. And also, it pointed to other evidence, the similar 30-month restriction that's been lifted in neighboring countries like China, Japan, and Taiwan.
Right.
Again, pointing that to evidence of safe and quality of U.S. beef. So this is a position that we've seen for quite some time, this request to lift the 30-month age restriction. But what's different now? Well, the Trump administration. So they're saying that the new tariffs may be imposed based on such reviews by the trade representatives. But then coming back to South Korea, in a statement yesterday, the Korean Hanwoo Association, they urged the Seoul National Assembly and the government to not accept this request to allow imports, saying that this would be a threat to our farmers' rights to life and the public's rights to health.
Okay, so that's where we are on the beef front. Now, we have been seeing a lot of tragedies or crimes involving entire families. So we're going to get into this issue. Right?
Unfortunately so. So there's a trigger warning for violence and some disturbing content. Please be aware because we're talking about familicide, which is 친족살인, where family members kill each other. So a couple several disturbing stories in the past week or so. In 칠곡 County in Gyeongbuk earlier this week, an adult son, a grown-up son, killed his mother and then he himself was found dead on the outside of the apartment building.
Yes.
Apparently, the family had some troubles with his gaming and abnormal behavior, according to the police. Another case on the 9th, this was in Suwon, where a father allegedly killed his wife and children and also took his own life. The father was apparently in some financial trouble. And the thing is, these familicides, killings within families, are on the rise. So according to the national police data, that was released by People Power Party lawmaker Cho Seung-hwan. The latest figure actually goes back to 2023. Back then, there were 49 cases where a parent killed his or her own children. And then also 43 cases where
the parents were the victims. So the children, adult children likely killed the parents.
Yes.
Apparently, this is the first data we have on this from 2023 because the police didn't even really need to or think to compile such data previously.
Right.
Another case was in Daejeon. This involves a grandmother in her 50s, so actually quite young. But she was found guilty of child abuse, of having killed her 3-year-old granddaughter through suffocation and also child abuse of her grandson.
Right.
She was apparently entrusted with childcare after her son asked her to. But the woman was diagnosed with a mental illness back in 2011 and even had to go off her, or she chose to go off of her medication without a doctor's knowledge or consent to have to take care of her grandchildren. So the appeals case is currently ongoing. But this points to what some experts have pointed out to difficult economic difficulties and family conflicts being behind these rises in familicide. So lawmaker Cho, who released the figures, said, they called for a tighter social safety net for high-risk families.
Sure. Once again, really, really tragic, these types of incidents, any murders, of course. But speaking of these economic difficulties, we have a lot of young adults who are not in the workforce, and this comes with increased levels of anxiety.
Right. So anyone who's had to apply for any job knows that there's anxiety and nervousness. So we have Labor Ministry's data over this survey on how young adults are coping and how many young adults are out of the workforce and how they're coping with it. So we have the economically inactive population who are just taking a break. 쉬었음. They're not working currently, nor are they looking for jobs. So in the 15 to 29 age group, we have 434,000 people who fall within this category.
Yes.
That's up by 7.7% compared to the same period last year. So for young people who have taken time off for at least 1 year after graduating from high school or university, they were on this time off for an average of 22.7 months. So we're almost looking at 2 years.
Yes.
So 11% have not been in the job force for at least 4 years.
4 years.
Yeah.
So is there a reason or reasons why this is so, why they're not seeking employment?
Right. So interestingly, most of these people who are on a prolonged break, they do have job experience, worked an average of almost 18 months before taking this break.
Okay.
But then the biggest reason for not going back into the workforce, 38% said lack of jobs. 일자리 부족. 35% said they were kind of preparing for a better job, education or self-development, 교육이나 자기계발. But also we are looking at a significant amount of psychological issues. 27% saying burnout was a cause, 25% psychological issues. And then, of course, this time off isn't really relaxing. It's not really a time off.
True.
Because over half of them said during this period they saw economic and psychological issues, and 77% noted having anxiety. Almost 85% said that they do agree they thought work was an important part of life, but again, going back to the lack of jobs or needing to take time off. So in its analysis, the institution said people tended to take longer time off when the last employment they had low wages, low skills, and unstable jobs. So therefore, experts call for various psychological and also professional support.
Yes, indeed. That's why, I guess, youth are having issues getting into or back into the workforce. Next issue, though. Overdue child support. This has been an issue in South Korea for quite some time, and the government is taking proactive action about this now.
Right, and we're actually taking this into a full circle where the government and some policies are being more proactive at trying to reduce these financial burdens. So parents who don't pay child support, 양육비, that's been a social issue. So much so that other parents, so parents who are the primary child carers, they've gone to jail for disclosing the identity of the offending parents. Yeah, so from this July, the government is going to pay child support for these parents and then take it retroactively from the other parent who's supposed to be paying child support or alimony.
Okay.
So these are for people who fall under the 150% line of median income. They will get 200,000 won per month, 20만 원, until the child is of age. So, right, we'll get to the money, we'll get to the amount in a bit.
Okay.
Because there's a bit of controversy. For one, at the fact that there's an income limit, because proponents or some people, advocates argue that child support should be a universal right rather than, instead of just how much you make.
True.
Also, given the cost of living right now, you cannot realistically raise a child on 20만 won, 200,000 won per month.
Very
that
true.
probably covers. Does that cover the grocery bills?
Not really.
Yeah, not really,
Yeah.
depending on. So therefore, of course, the fundamental, solution would be stronger punitive action, holding the parents accountable to pay to raise your own kid. Really, that's what child support is.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Regardless if you have custody or not, you created the children.
Yes.
Just saying. Okay, for our next story. Apparently now you can pull from your insurance, life insurance policy like a pension.
Right. So a lot of people have life insurance, but for seniors who don't really have a source of income, kind of the perception is, what good does it do for me now?
True.
Exactly, because
Yes.
with life insurance, your the beneficiary, usually your spouse or children, they get the money after you pass on, you pass away. So from now on, for seniors 65 or older and they have completed paying into their life insurance, they can get up to 90% of that money back in monthly installments. So you can kind of use it like a pension.
Okay.
So they can also get this in terms of caregiving services or paying into nursing homes. However, you must not have any outstanding loans on this insurance, or the ultra-high life insurance of 900 million won, 9억 won or above.
Okay.
Those are excluded. But the industry is estimating almost 12 trillion won in such amounts that'll be able to kind of help those in need right now.
Oh, I think that's such a good thing for us seniors who really need this.
Right.
So, thank you for going over all the news items. And of course, we'll check it. Oh, before you go, there's a comment regarding you from Layla. 우리 아들 아기 때 기지개 켜는 거 보는 느낌. I wonder what she's referring to.
I mean, yeah, the extremities, this is,
Oh, 귀여워.
Thank you.
Well, I did on that note. Check in with you in hour number 2. Thank you, Haley.
See you in a bit.
All right, back to you, the waivers out there. I don't know. Some of the messages I got to check with my producers to see if I can read. 태진님 거 읽고 싶은데 let me ask her if I can read it in a little bit. How about this message from Young? Today we're talking about, discipline, punishment from your teachers or your parents. So Young says, back in the day, we grew up with a broomstick justice. Broomstick justice. I love it. Getting whacked with a broom was just part of my life. But these days, the most effective punishment isn't a broomstick. It is simply taking away their cell phone. And honestly, what might have been even more painful than getting hit with a broom, mentally at least, he says. So thanks for sharing. And we have, permission from my producer. I can read this. 태진. I hope, no. Okay, here we go. 중2 때 학교 갔다 왔는데 모니터가 사라져서 어디 갔는데 짜증 내는데 컴퓨터에 야한 동영상 저장되어 있는 거를 누나가 엄마한테 이러고 빗자루로 많이 맞았대요. 저는 아픈 것보다 부끄러워서 옥상에 올라가 집을 그만 나가야 할까 고민했던 때가 생각납니다. 지금 우리 아들이 저와 같은 상황이면 다른 방식으로 훈육해야겠죠? This is such a real story, though. Back in the day when he was in middle school, second year, he came home to discover his computer monitor was gone. And then what happened? He's like, what the heck? Where's my computer monitor? Apparently his older sister snitched on him and said, hey, he's looking at inappropriate content. And so hence it was not just the embarrassment or the physical, beating that he got from his mom, but just the embarrassment. The thing is this, he has a son now who is of that same age. So he's saying I should probably deal with it if that happens in a different way. Oh, yes. Don't embarrass your child. It's a part of, natural part of, growing up and going through puberty. So I'm sure you can find a better solution. 그쵸? All right, let's get to Kat's pick for now. For today's Cat's Pick, I wanted to share this story. It wasn't like a huge story, but I found it and I was like, oh my gosh, how did she survive? So I'm talking about a missing Indiana woman. She was trapped in her car for almost a week, and she managed to survive. Let's get to the story from ABC News.
This morning, an Indiana woman's remarkable survival story, spending 6 days trapped in her car, injured after crashing into a ditch.
She was screaming out for help. She could hear cars going by, but they couldn't see her from the road.
41-year-old Brianna Castle was on the way to visit a friend when she fell asleep at the wheel. Her father says she stayed alive by dipping her sweatshirt into the water in that ditch.
And she was using her hoodie and wringing it to get a drink of water, trying to survive. And she was in excruciating pain.
6 long days passed until a man working for a drainage company spotted her car and called his boss, who happens to be the fire chief.
I noticed some dry blood on her forehead. I said, ma'am, how long have you been here? And she said, I've been here since Wednesday night. And I said, no, it's today's Tuesday. I said, I think you're confused. She was very conscious, very alert, very aware of how severe her injuries were.
Castle's ordeal comes just as AAA warns about the dangers of drowsy driving this time of year after the beginning of daylight saving time last weekend. AAA estimates 18% of all traffic fatalities can be linked to drowsy driving. Castle's crash was similar to this one, also in Indiana, just over a year ago. Matt Ream was trapped for nearly a week after his truck overturned in a creek. He survived on rainwater until he was found by a fisherman. Castle's family says she has several broken bones and may need surgery, but she is happy to be out of that car.
들으셨나요? 어떻게 생존을 했는지요? She dipped her sweatshirt, like a 맨투맨을 거기 차에 이제 빠진 데서 그 맨투맨을 그 조금 물 흐르는데 담궈서 and she survived on that water. So I thought it was an amazing, amazing story. I'm glad she's okay. So this was Cat's Pick for today.
Stay tuned. You're listening to Morning Wave in Busan.
It's now time for us to check in with Chris for Beyond the Headlines. Good morning.
Good morning.
Oh, you look so nice today.
Why, thank you.
I love the color. That color really suits you.
Thank you. This is one of my Goodwill finds when I was back in the United States.
Oh, really?
So, yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Good find. Hey, for our text topic today, though, we are talking about discipline, punishment back in the day, back in your day, like, with your parents or even teachers. Because corporal punishment was a thing, probably in every single country all around the world.
Yeah. I was at the tail end of the corporal punishment thing. I think my father spanked us one time.
One time.
And that was because we were, opening our second floor window and throwing our bedding out. And
what?
It managed to land on the power line. So he was...
Oh, that's dangerous.
He was like, this is dangerous. You guys need to not do this again.
Right.
But
that deserved...
Yeah,
that
he never punished us like that again, to my memory. And my elementary school principal had a paddle.
Oh, like a real paddle.
Yeah, that he had used back in the 70s. And then, he would just get it out as a joke for birthdays and do the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So and the one to grow on for your birthday.
Right. But not real.
No.
Okay, I was gonna say.
I think it was just a display piece at the point that I got to elementary school.
In Korea, they call it 사랑의 매. I mean, is there love behind corporal punishment? I don't know. But in our raising our little ones, we never used it, but we wrote on it memme stick, probably in incorrect Korean. And we had it on display, but we never used it either. So it was just kind of for show. You don't want the memme stick, right? But we never used it. Something like that. Well, let's jump into what you've got for us today. So what do you have?
Well, for today's segment, I'm doing what is a great radio by providing you the following props. Here, this is for you.
Oh,
for everybody on
no?
YouTube. I'm sorry.
Oh. Oh, okay. So Chris just handed me, for those of you who are not on our YouTube channel right now, handed me a banana, looks so delicious, by the way, and some duct tape, right?
Yep. That will be $6.24 million, please.
Okay, here you go. Can I return the items to you? Because that's just a little too much.
You can keep the banana.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I will have it.
I'm being a bit hyperbolic, but
yes,
that's how much the artwork called Comedian by Italian artist Mauricio Catalin sold for this past November, smashing estimates at the Sotheby's auction house.
Wow.
The estimate for the work was between 1 and 1.5 million, but the price just really took off. And it was acquired by a Chinese collector and founder of the cryptocurrency platform, Justin Sun.
And the thing is this, I'm looking at the banana with the duct tape. The banana you gave me is even more handsome, more beautiful. I just don't get it. Why would you pay that kind of money? Because you have it? Listeners out there, what do you think about this?
Well, it's a contemporary art piece, so there's a lot to be said about that. For those who don't know the artwork, I'll describe it for them. The artwork was first presented in 2019. A fresh banana is taped to a wall with duct tape.
Yes.
And, there's a bit more to it, but that's the basic idea.
Sure.
Artist Catalin created 3 works in the series, so this is not just one of them.
All right.
The first bananas, you might be thinking that the bananas were fresh in 2019, and how is it still fine? Well, they aren't really.
Obviously.
The bananas aren't, they go off. The Comedian is a conceptual artwork that relies on the ideas or concepts of art that are more important than the work itself or the pieces in it. This movement itself started back in 1917 by Marcel Duchamp, who created the fountain, which was, let's call it a urinal because that's what it was.
A urinal?
A urinal, and the artist signed it with R. Mutt. And this was for the inaugural exhibition of the Society of Independent Artists.
Do we have a photo of that? PD님 있어요?
Yeah, it's in there, should be.
And there it is?
Yep.
Calling that the fountain?
Yeah.
I guess technically it could be.
Yeah, it sparks a lot of debate.
Right.
The term itself was coined by Henry Flint, who said he came across the notion of cognitive nihilism, which is a set of belief that life is meaningless. Other pieces include René Magritte's The Treachery of Image, which is on the screen now. It's a photo of a pipe.
Like literally,
that
a pipe.
says underneath in French, "This is not a pipe."
But it so is.
Yeah.
So, yes.
Yes. Well as...
No, I was going to say, that's why they sometimes call it artsy-fartsy, because I sometimes don't get it.
Yeah.
I know it's there's a lot of meaning and, subtext to these pieces, artwork, right?
Yeah, there's also the other 2 other pieces that are important, John Baldessi's Pencil Story, which is of 2 pencils. The first one is dull, the second one is sharp. It's actually the same pencil.
Oh, here we go.
With an explanation about how he found the pencils.
Right.
And the other one is Felix Gonzalez Torres' Untitled, or Perfect Lovers, which were 2 identical battery-powered clocks that were set to the exact same time, but would get out of sync as days passed. Something about, lovers getting out of sync as life goes on.
That, to me, I can get behind that. Yeah. I mean, technically, it's just 2 clocks, right?
Yes.
But, even though you start off at the exact same time in the same place, you get out of sync.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah. So Comedian really follows this tradition. It's it's a piece consisting of this fresh banana duct taped to the wall. It's exactly 1.6 meters above the floor. Now, he first sold this piece for a fairly big amount of money and became even more. But he purchased the bananas at a Miami grocery store for an estimated 30 cents.
So 500won for a banana. Wow, but he is laughing all the way to the bank, isn't he? Yes. So I have to say that the one that's sold, the original banana, I don't know. I mean, I'm holding this banana. I'm technically this could be worth, what was it? Yeah. How much?
6.25 million
for this banana.
Yes. As a piece of concept art, the important parts are the ideas that are expressed, not the individual pieces for the art.
Right.
So while the original banana is gone, the fact that the piece itself has been eaten several times.
Yes.
The first was when during the premiere of the artwork at Art Basel in 2019 by a Georgian performance artist, David Datuna, in the piece that he called Hungry Artist.
Hungry Artist. So
he ate the
banana?
Ate the banana.
Okay.
And the banana itself was replaced later the day.
Sure.
The piece was later shown in 2023, and an art student from Seoul National University, No Hyun-so, ate it and then taped the peel back up to the wall. And when he was asked why he ate it, he said he had skipped breakfast that day and was hungry.
Simple.
Yep.
배고파서 먹었어요. The banana. It looked good. So if it's not the original banana, then what did Justin's son buy?
The most important thing he bought was the idea of the artwork.
Idea.
Yeah, it's a bit strange to say. In a press release, Sun said that it's not just an artwork. It represents a cultural phenomenon that bridges the worlds of art, memes, and the cryptocurrency community. I believe this piece will inspire more thought and discussion in the future and will become a part of history. He didn't just buy the idea. As the winning bidder, he received a fresh roll of duct tape and one banana, as well as a certificate of authenticity and the original instructions for installing the artwork.
Do we need instructions on how to do it correctly?
I believe so. Otherwise you might get too far off the ground or use too much duct tape.
I see. You want the perfect amount.
That's the perfect amount. And to be perfectly clear, the roll of tape isn't original either. The banana and duct tape can be replaced as needed. And it's really the physical representation of comedian is not the work itself.
So I have a question for you. Because originally when we started this segment, you gave me a beautiful banana. You gave me the duct tape, minus the certificate. So does the art world think of this as art?
Well, that's complicated. Art world itself is split on the work's merits. There's a long tradition in the conceptual art community that goes back to the first hero Norlet I spoke of. But according to many critics, the big question is whether the art itself is worth that much. When it debuted in 2019, the artist asked for a six-figure price that seemed a bit much at the time. But the work was so attention-grabbing, and soon long lines were queuing up to see the work. In fact, there were so many people that the installation was removed because curators were worried that other works would be damaged because of the long lines.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And in spite of what others might think, the value of something is what someone will pay for it. So 2 of the 3 artworks were actually purchased for the suggested $120,000, while the 3rd one was bought at a higher undisclosed price and later donated to the Guggenheim Museum in New York.
Right, as Leslie says, art is expensive subjectivity. That's kind of true, though,
yes.
Right? It's like what eye of the beholder. Like if I think it's so unique and this is art, and I'm willing to pay that price, then I guess it's worth that much, at least to one person, right?
Yeah, it's whatever you're willing to pay for it.
So, is there anything else that you want to tell us regarding this?
Well, I don't think I mentioned the meaning behind the art.
Yeah, what is the meaning? This is important.
Yes, it really depends on who you ask because it means different things to different people.
Okay.
Catalin said that the work is a cultural moment that captures the complexities of contemporary art and society. The person who first displayed it, Emmanuel Periton, said comedian is a symbol of global trade, a double entendre, as well as a classic device of humor. Thinking of the sliding banana peel.
Yeah.
And the Sotheby's head of contemporary art for the Americas, David Gulperin, had described comedian as a defiant work of pure genius. He added that balancing profound critical thought and subversive wit, this is a defining work for the artist and for our generation. If at its core the comedian questions the very notion of the value of art, then putting the work on auction will ultimately realize the essential conceptual idea. The public will finally have to have a say in deciding its true value.
Okay, well, definitely want to ask you. I want to end it with this. So, what does he plan to do with the work itself?
Well, following the tradition,
Yes.
he ate the banana.
He ate the banana.
He said in the coming days, I will personally eat the banana as a part
he
of
is.
the artistic experience, honoring its place in both art history and popular culture.
He's eating the banana. Well, I will enjoy the banana you gave us. So thank you so much. And we'll definitely check in with you next week. So this is the banana a la Chris. Can we call it that?
Yeah.
Yes.
Enjoy it.
All right. Thank you so much, Chris. It's time to wrap up hour number 1. But let's get to this song, a banana song by... Oh, no. Okay, so we're going to talk more about the banana because for whatever reason. So, did you have breakfast yet?
I had a banana myself. It was very, very delicious.
Yes. So I will be having this. Actually, I don't eat before the show, so I will save this for after the show because I have this like phobia that if I eat something right before the show, I might burp.
That. Really?
Like on air. That's like a fear. I think of all like radio personalities because like obviously, if you eat, the natural progression is you might like, burp, right?
Yeah.
So
I always worry about getting stuff on my throat and having to go the entire time.
Yes. And so I do wish you a really good semester because I know you just started teaching again. Mm-hmm. And so how are your batch of kids? Are they good?
They're pretty good. Got a couple silent classes, but we'll work on them.
The silent classes I was telling you off air, though, those are the hardest.
They are the
most
hardest.
difficult. I love the chatty classes.
Yeah, I love those too. But, one of the good things about like the silent classes is getting them to come out of their shell and open up.
That's true. All right, so we're going to call it a day for today, and we'll check in with you next week. Thank you, Chris.
Thank you very much.
All right, and here is Banana Song by the Minions.
Your Bridge to the World. BEFM 부산영어방송.
우리 모두를 위한 교통안전. 나부터 실천하면 모두가 안전해집니다. 어린이가 안전하게 뛰어놀 수 있는 부산. 아이 키우기 좋은 도시는 우리 모두의 미래이자 희망입니다. 이 캠페인은 어린이가 안전한 부산을 만드는 은행, B&K 부산은행과 함께합니다.
Welcome to Busan. Let me show you around. Here you can find the world's largest musical in-ground fountain and the world's only UN memorial cemetery. Stroll along the coast and explore the largest mountain fortress in Korea. As well as all this, there are so many tourist attractions, beautiful exhibitions, vibrant culture, convenient facilities, and delicious foods unique to Busan. With all the beauty and charm of the amazing city of Busan, you'll find yourself right at home in this ever-changing tourism paradise. So stay with us a while. Busan, your #1 tourist destination. Your home, away from home. This campaign is brought to you by BEFM, 부산 영어방송.
지금 방송 광고라는 부메랑을 던져보세요. 소비자를 향해 정확히 날아가는 광고. 힘차게 돌아가는 경제. 부메랑처럼 다시 기업의 이익으로 되돌아오니까요. 방송 광고, 경제에 큰 힘이 됩니다. 부산 방송광고발전협의회.
The time is now 8 o'clock.
Good morning, Dynamic Busan.
Yeah, you're waking up. Time to shake it up. Tell the world good morning and find out what's going on.
Well, hi there, folks. There's everything from comedy to lively chat to music.
Broadcasting from a room about the size of your closet.
All calls are recorded. What show is this?
Live from Korea's dynamic city, this is Morning Wave in Busan.
I'm sorry, who'd you say you were?
It is now 8 o'clock and this is news highlights. Government shifts to emergency response mode amid Trump's tariffs. The South Korean government will go into a full emergency response mode as a 25% U.S. tariff on all steel and aluminum imports went into effect yesterday. The Ministry of Trade, Industry, and Energy held a meeting with officials from various industries and institutions and vowed to strengthen communication and beef up response measures against U.S. tariffs to protect the interests of Korean companies. The industry ministry plans to hold briefing sessions on Washington's trade policies, operate an emergency help desk, and provide consultations on business strategies that it says may include diversification of export destinations and relocation of manufacturing facilities. Government seeks inheritance tax reform. South Korea is seeking to replace its decades-old estate tax system with an inheritance tax, easing tax burdens on beneficiaries in an effort to ensure tax fairness and align with global standards, the finance ministry said yesterday. South Korea currently imposes an estate tax, which is imposed on the entire estate of the deceased before it can be divided among the remaining family members. In contrast, the inheritance tax has spouses and children pay taxes based on the assets they each inherit. The finance ministry aims to enforce the revised tax system in 2028, with plans to submit the proposed changes to Parliament later this year. Flights banned over Constitutional Court ahead of Yoon's impeachment ruling. The government has temporarily banned all flights over the Constitutional Court ahead of the impending ruling on President Yoon Suk-yeol's impeachment in effect now until next Wednesday. Our aircraft and drones will be prohibited, except those used by emergency responders. The measure is aimed at preventing crime and terrorism around the date of the impeachment ruling, which the court has yet to announce. The Seoul Metropolitan Office of Education also announced that the 11 schools around the court will cancel classes on the day of the verdict announcement. Nearly 1 in 10 South Korean seniors suffer from Alzheimer's. Nearly 1 out of 10 older adults in South Korea suffers from Alzheimer's disease, with the number of dementia patients expected to surpass 1 million next year, data showed yesterday. The number of dementia patients has reached 970,000 as of 2025, accounting for 9.17% of those aged 65 or older, according to the data compiled by the Ministry of Health and Social Welfare. The ministry said that it will devise support measures for dementia patients to lessen the financial and caregiving burdens on their families. U.S. team on way to Russia to discuss Ukraine ceasefire plan. U.S. President Donald Trump says American representatives are currently on their way to Russia to discuss the U.S. proposal of a Ukraine ceasefire. Ukraine agreed to a 30-day ceasefire on Tuesday local time after talks with the U.S. and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky called on Moscow to respond to the proposal. Russia said it is studying the statements and waiting to be briefed by U.S. officials. In the meantime, President Vladimir Putin has threatened to treat Ukrainian soldiers in Kursk as terrorists, suggesting the captured soldiers could face trials in Russian courts and be jailed for decades. This was News Highlights. It's now time for wa글와글, which means Haley's back.
Hello.
Yes.
And that banana just randomly sitting on
right
the
here
table just makes me laugh.
The
It's just
6.5
there.
million. It could be worth.
It could be.
Since I'm holding it, I think it's worth more. I'm just kidding, of course. Let's get into your stories. This first one, the police disclosed the identity of the teacher who allegedly killed 8-year-old Haner.
Right, so this has already been a month, but the suspect in the murder of Haneri at this Daejeon Elementary School is Myung-jae-wan, and we'll have a photo up for you soon on our YouTube streaming. So Daejeon police disclosed the 48-year-old teacher's name, age, and face. This information is available online for 30 days, so that means until April 11th. So this is upon the decision from the police's Personal Information Disclosure Assessment Committee, and Myung, upon this decision, told the police that she does not object to it. Thus, we are getting this photo and name.
Yes. And the police also disclosed the interim results of their investigation.
Right. So investigation is still ongoing. However, they have released some details. And by the way, I have to tell you, there is a trigger warning for violence and contents of self-harm.
Yes.
So Myung initially apparently considered suicide, to take her own life, but apparently changed her mind to hurt someone else about 3 to 7 days before the crime, and this is upon what she has told the police. So her internet search history also reflects this, and the police said that this, in psychological terms, is what's called transference of anger, 분노의 전이, and she likely sought someone out, someone whom she considered to be weaker, so therefore a child, to express her anger. An official from the police investigation team, however, clarified that her past history of depression is not directly related to the crime. And the experts the police have consulted said that depression actually does not manifest itself in such crimes against others. Myung is said to have been apologetic to the family during the course of the investigation. The police have charged her with aggravated murder of a minor under 13, which has a sentencing minimum, actually. So this, if she's found guilty, she'll be charged to, or she'll be sentenced to at least a life sentence or maximum capital punishment. So this in Korean is 13세 미만 약취 유인.
So this story, of course, we're going to continue to follow it. I know it's so troubling, but yet an important case to look at. Here's a different case, though, an interesting one. A driver took a student to the police because he jaywalked on an e-scooter. So now the driver is facing child abuse charges.
Right. So this goes back to our topic of discipline, because back in the day, like I used to, hear about, or at least even see, like older people scolding random people random kids on the street, smoking or doing something that they're not supposed to.
Yes.
Well, now people try to do that, and then this happens. So this happened in last July in Gwangju Seogu district. A student, a minor, was on an e-scooter. And then we don't have the details on that yet, but technically you do need at least a motorcycle license to ride an e-scooter. And he jaywalked across a road and almost got into an accident with the vehicle. The driver of this vehicle honked at the boy, backed up his car to where the boy was, stopped in front of him, and said, I almost hit you, or we almost hit each other. 사고 날 뻔했어. The driver then proceeded to put the boy in his car, dropped him off at a police station that was about 300 meters away, and then that's where things ended.
Okay.
Until it didn't. So the boy's side, presumably his parents, filed a lawsuit against the driver for child abuse. Yeah. So the prosecution that investigated the case, they deemed that this act of collectively honking, putting the boy in the car, and then taking him to the police station all collectively constituted child abuse, 아동학대.
Because the sum of all the actions, not just like one
honk, one yell, or
But I don't know, once he put the boy in the car.
So we're going to get into it because there are always two sides to each story, right? So the trial has begun. So we don't know the verdict yet. I'll hopefully keep you updated. The driver said that this was meant to be educational, to let the boy know what he did was dangerous. By the way, please, seriously, with the e-scooters, please be safe about it.
Yes.
But here's what's going to be contested in court. He didn't force the boy into the car. But then we can also argue until the cows come home what forcing would constitute. Because if an older person told you
get in my car,
get in my car, and then you feel like you're in trouble.
Yes.
Are you gonna right?
Exactly.
So the court will question those involved as witnesses. So we'll see. We'll find out.
But I always tell my roommate, no matter what you see, whether it be students or random children, if they're not our children, don't comment. Don't try to say anything. Don't even try. And not only will you be like a gunde, but it's like you're crossing the line because they're not your children.
Right.
It's the parents' job.
But then, I don't know. So I was, I run in the local elementary school track, and there's kids. And I could tell it was good nature, but this older girl, smacked this younger boy, so hard on the back.
Right.
So I was like, are you blood related?
Is that your younger brother?
And she was like, 아니요, 근데 그래도 돼요. And I was like, but the boy was kind of laughing. So that's why I was like, all right, maybe you guys have whatever dynamic you have. But then I don't want to be witness to and just, let go of a bullying potential. I don't want to do that. But then at the same time, am I going to get summoned to the police for child abuse?
I don't know. So that's
what a world. Exactly. This is, as a local,
lots of gray area.
It's tough.
All right, let's move on to another case. This time to Argentina over the death of soccer legend Diego Maradona.
Right. So the Argentinian court on Tuesday local time began its very high-profile trial of 7 healthcare professionals who are accused of negligence resulting in death of legend Diego Maradona, who died at the age of 60. So this spotlight is on this particular neurosurgeon, Leonardo Luque, who was Maradona's personal physician for the last 4 years of the soccer player's life.
Sure.
So Luque performed surgery to remove a blood clot from Maradona's brain just weeks before his death. But surgeries happen and, depending on what the patient's conditions were. But here's the thing. The professionals were charged with caring for Maradona when he had a heart attack in a house, not his house, but in a house in November of 2020.
Sure.
So these individuals include this neurosurgeon, a psychiatrist, and several medical staffers, and they are being charged with manslaughter, which is professional negligence resulting in death, with a maximum sentence of 25 years. So here's the thing. The prosecution argues that these doctors and medical staff, they didn't provide adequate medical care.
Okay.
And that Maradona was taken to a house for home hospitalization. But once again, this wasn't his home. and without being in full use of his mental faculties. So basically, he wasn't aware of what was happening. He
wasn't in control, meaning,
He wasn't in control, exactly. And then in a photo that was released in the trial, quite disturbing, this was taken soon after his death. His stomach his abdomen is visibly swollen.
I see.
So there are questions being raised too. Was he taken care of physically? Was he well? The trial is going to be a long one. It could last up to 4 months, and there will be 3 hearings per week. So hopefully I'll get you the updates when these happen.
Yes, we do want to know because he is, a legend. Anybody who follows soccer. Okay, next up, we often see these mukbang creators gulping down or, shoveling in or shoving down tons of food, mounds of burgers. But I don't even know how they do it. We should not be trying this at home, correct?
No, please don't.
Yes.
But I do want to ask you, waivers, are you fast eaters or slow eaters? 식사를 빨리 하시나요? 천천히 하시나요? Because we got, in my home, we have 2 polar opposites. My dad just scarfs down whatever. I'm like, are you like a boa constrictor? Do you just swallow things whole? What's happening?
Yes.
And then my sister, we call her, she's French.
Is she a grazer?
She will turn that bowl of whatever into a 4-course meal. And I'm like, so I would watch her. I would see that she started eating.
Yes.
I would go work out. And I work out for a while.
And then come back?
And she's still eating. And I'm like, by the time you're done with lunch, it's going to be time for dinner.
Oh my gosh.
No wonder you're... Anyways, anywho. But health-wise, which one is better? We'll get to that. All right. Yet another story how competitive eating, excessive fast eating can be dangerous. So we're going to Singapore. A story reported on by the Daily Mail. This man was on the brink of death because he completed his food eating challenge involving a gigantic burger.
How gigantic?
7 pounds or 3 kilograms.
Of just a burger?
A burger was 3 kilograms.
Wait, 3 kilograms is a baby?
Is a baby. Is a newborn.
That's huge.
Right.
Okay.
And he ate this in 30 minutes. Yeah, don't do that. Because why? Why not? Well, because that'll put such an immense pressure on your intestines and stretch out your stomach. It literally was about to burst. Literally.
Do we have proof?
We do have proof. Exhibit A. Q. Come on. There you go. Thank you.
Oh.
By the way, that is the blockage is the burger up to his shoulder. Yeah.
I'm speechless right now.
I sometimes joke 목 끝까지 찼어 when I'm really full. I'm full up to here.
Right.
This literally happens. It goes up to your shoulder. Who knew? So because there is a burger, a 3 kilogram, 7 pounds of hamburger in his stomach and elsewhere, this kept him from passing gas or having a bowel movement and took 5 days. And he was hospitalized for these 5 days.
Wow.
And because his stomach was at risk of bursting, by the way, there is a medical term, gastric perforation.
Right.
Literally, your stomach's going to burst. And that can kill you within hours. And because if not treated, it can lead to sepsis, basically blood poisoning, and multiple organ failure.
Yes.
The doctors were considering surgery when he finally passed gas, which is a sign of bowel movement.
Yes.
Yeah, so don't do that.
I'm flabbergasted. Why would you want to do that? So again, eating too much or maybe too fast, too quickly can be dangerous.
Right. So because once again, goes back to the 30 minutes thing that overwhelmed this digestive system. Your stomach, by the way, is between 800 and 1,500 milliliters.
Okay.
So if the stomach is stretched for too long, that can lead to poor blood flow and potential stomach rupture. So when that happens, doctors would usually go for a stomach cleaning or stomach pumping, where basically they suck food out of the stomach. That can be effective if it's performed within 24 hours.
Okay.
And that's what happens, what could happen after eating competitions. So it breaks up the food to remove. But if it is too extreme in such cases, and there's just no room for them to break up the food, they might have to cut into you. So once again.
Oh gosh, I hope you were not having breakfast. You didn't give them a warning.
Oh, sorry.
Warning. 아침 식사하고 계셨으면.
Right.
I apologize.
Well, it's a warning to don't eat too quickly.
Right.
But also don't eat like my sister does, but at the same time. Everything in moderation.
Yes. Well, thank you for all the Waggly stories. We'll check in with you tomorrow. Thank
Have
you,
a great day.
And here is your updated traffic and weather. is now 18 past the hour. Here's your update on traffic. There's an accident on Asia대로 from Sajik to Minam intersection. There is a two-car collision right before Minam intersection. A cargo truck has broken down on the Namhae Expressway at the second branch 제2지선 toward Busan, right past the Karak interchange. It's backed up on 중앙대로 from Songgong three-way intersection to Seomen intersection. Also, heavy traffic detected on Byeonglo going out of the city right around the Wondong interchange. Slow moving on Chungjang대로 from Jungangdong intersection to Chungjang overpass. It's currently 10 degrees Celsius. It's a little cloudy today here in Busan. It's expected to go up to 16 degrees. Across the nation, there is thick fog in the AM in Incheon, Gyeonggi, and parts of Chungnam, basically along the western coast. Be aware of this, be careful. Most of the country will be under the effect of the yellow dust, the hwangsa, blowing it from China and Mongolia. So, yes, you're definitely going to have your mask on hand today. This was your traffic and weather.
지금 이 순간 지금 여기 간절히 바라고 원했던 이 순간 나만의 꿈이 나만의 소원 이루어질지 몰라 여기 바로 오늘 지금 이 순간 지금 여기 말로는 뭐라 할 수 없는 이 순간 참아온 나날 힘겹던 날 다 사라져간다 연기처럼 멀리 지금 이 순간 마법처럼 날 묶어왔던 자세를 벗어 던진다 지금 내게 확신만 있을 뿐 남은 건 이젠 승리뿐 그 많았던 비난과 고난을 떨치고 일어서 세상으로 부딪혀 맞설 뿐 지금 이 순간 내 모든 걸 내 육신마저 내 영혼마저 다 걸고 던지리라 바치리라 애타게 찾던 절실한 소원을 위해 지금 이 순간 나만의 길 당신이 날 버리고 저주어여도 내 마음속 깊이 간직한 꿈 간절한 기도 절실한 기도 신이 허락하소서
And that was a song request from 최윤정님. 지금 이 순간 by 조승우. She has no idea. My producer has no idea because she's really super busy doing something that I've been chatting about her. She was singing and belting that song out like she was on stage. Don't know why, but anyhow, love it. Seriously, I wish I had a button where I could like secretly raise at least my mic so you could get some some wonderful moments on air. But today's text topic, we've been talking about discipline and punishment. Back in your day, what was it like? And how about these days? How do you discipline your children, assuming you have children? So according to many of you, I think Leslie, you mentioned earlier the whole thing about detention or having to sit at your seat. I remember my teacher, I think it was in third grade, Mrs. Parks. She had us if the class as a whole, we were somehow misbehaving or being a little too rowdy, she would turn the lights off in the classroom and then she would have us sit at our desks and then have us say, and she would say, okay, we all need to calm down. And then we would be hunched over our desk. She would force us to just calm down, literally physically. And she would do it by turning off the light and telling us, not a peep, be quiet. But you could hear it in her voice. If we did, peek or, make any sort of noise, we knew we were going to get in trouble. So, but definitely, even for back in my day, we didn't have corporal punishment in school. 제가 미국에서 자랐을 때는 그 시대에서는 it's a no-no. There was no laying of hands. You could not, hit a child or have that type of corporal punishment. But I know here in Korea, back in the day, it was quite different. And in some states, even in the U.S. during that era, there were states that allowed legally for teachers to dole out corporal punishment. And a lot of you are saying these days for your kids, it's not so much the corporal punishment at all. It's more like turning the phone off or, that kind of punishment where you're taking away certain privileges. So I think that's most common these days. Thanks for actually chiming in on all these messages. And let's get to our special interview. The moon. I mean, our fascination with the moon and space and all that really, really being ramped up in the past few years. Well, Firefly Aerospace's Blue Ghost lunar lander successfully landed down on the moon on March 2nd, marking a significant achievement in private space exploration. So among its diverse payload, the lander carried a collection of South Korean or Shijo poetry, symbolizing a fusion of technological advancement and cultural heritage. And this mission highlights the increasing role of private companies in lunar exploration and the importance of international collaboration. So we're going to dig deeper into this topic. We've invited back to the airwaves Professor John T. Horner, astrobiologist and astronomer based at the University of Southern Queensland. Hi, welcome back.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Yes, and I said when we're doing our test call, love the T-shirt. I know it's getting cut off with your title and whatnot, but it's of the moon. Yes. So could you explain the significance of Firefly Aerospace's Blue Ghost landers, the successful lunar landing? What do you know?
Well, it's part of kind of a wider exciting initiative, really, which is the transition from the moon solely being the provenance of government-funded exploration to having commercial involvement. And we've seen something similar happen with the use of space around the Earth over the last couple of decades. And that's had an incredible impact in people's day-to-day lives. It's giving people very fast internet if they're prepared to pay a certain American company a lot of money for internet service, for example. So there's been great benefits from that side of things, but there's also been real benefits in our use of space for scientists, because once you bring in a commercial side of things, you make things cheaper in the long run, because they're interested in doing things efficiently and cheaply and getting rid of a lot of the red tape.
Yes.
So this is a natural progression in how we do everything, essentially. When it's too expensive for commercial interests to do it, governments get involved. They really, break the back of the problem, and then commerce comes in when it's more affordable. And to try and motivate that happening on the moon, NASA has got a program it calls its Commercial Lunar Payload Services Program. And the idea here is to try and encourage this commercial use of the moon by contracting private companies to develop missions like this one, to deliver packages to the moon, because long term, that's going to make life a lot cheaper. It's going to mean that we get more use of the moon.
Right.
And it's natural progression, and this is part of that. It is the second time that we've had a commercial soft landing on the moon. The first one was a company called Intuitive Machines, Odysseus lander about 12 months ago, that was also part of this program. And that lander 12 months ago was the first time any American mission had soft landed on the moon for 50 years. So it's very much, we think that this has been ongoing, but in fact, we had humans walking on the moon before I was born 50 years ago, more than 50 now. And since then, nothing's happened. It was too hard, and we've now got to the point where it's technologically feasible. There's this really big drive for humans to go back to the moon. America's been championing this with Project Artemis, but I know a number of other countries are looking at doing it as well. And if you want to have a permanent human presence on the moon, you essentially need the postal service to deliver things to them regularly and efficiently to get them things they can't get locally. So all of that comes together to this commercial lunar payload services program. And it's really exciting because 2 companies in 12 months have successfully delivered payloads to the moon. And this is not like a small little test thing like a drone. It's something the size of a family car. It's 3 by 3.5 meters. It's really substantial. And they've got to the moon and they've landed, done a soft landing, and they're now doing really good science. And I think that's a really exciting prospect.
Yes. So thanks for thoroughly explaining what happened leading up to getting to the moon. So I'm also curious about some of the key scientific instruments aboard Blue Ghost, and what exactly are they trying to measure? What data are they trying to collect?
Well, there are 10 different experiments on there, and I'm not going to run through all of them.
Sure.
This lander has landed in an area called Mare Crisium. So that's one of the seas on the moon, the Mare, which are the darker areas. When you look up at the moon tonight, moon's nearly full, you'll see these dark patches across the moon.
Okay.
And near the right-hand edge, there's a circular one that's a bit smaller but very distinct. That's Mare Crisium. So that's where this is. And people want to learn more about that environment. So they've got, like I say, these 10 different experiments on there. The 3 that really catch my eye are interesting because of having a scope wider than just the science of what's happening in that local area, essentially. One of them is a little experiment called the regolith adherence characterization experiment, which sounds a complex name. But the idea is that the lunar regolith, essentially the topsoil on the moon, is potentially really kind of sticky. There's no water, there's no weather there to round it off, but it's bombarded by meteorites all the time. So you get these little dust grains that are very spiky and can therefore stick to things very effectively. It's almost like the hoops and hooks in Velcro. So if you're building things that want to have a long lifetime on the moon, you need to figure out what kind of materials you need to stop that regolith sticking to them, so that your spacecraft doesn't get covered in dust, essentially, as you're driving around, as you're doing things. So this experiment has a lot of different materials that are typical things we'd want to have on the surface of the moon, like solar cells, cameras, things like that. And it's going to look at how dust adheres to them or falls off them, so that we can learn more about it, so we can better build materials for our future exploration. Now, that sounds fairly prosaic, but it's the only way we can do that experiment. I think it's a really cool example of what you can get from this kind of commercial exploration. Another one that got my attention, what they're calling retroreflectors. Now, we've had those on the moon since the Apollo astronauts left them there. But now we've got new and updated ones. So if you've ridden a bicycle, the reflectors on the front and the back of your bike are what are known as retroreflectors. And they're a very, very clever little piece of kit that reflect light, but they reflect light back to where it came from. So they work differently to a mirror. If you shine light on a mirror at an angle, it'll bounce off and keep going away from you. With a retroreflector, if you shine light on it, it'll bounce back to you no matter what angle you're looking from.
I see.
And these are really useful because they mean we can shine lasers at the moon, bounce the laser back and measure the distance to the moon with incredible accuracy. Now, we've been doing that with the ones that the Apollo astronauts left, but these new designed ones give us more accuracy, so they're a better tool. So that's the second one I thought was cool. The third one and the final one I'll mention is a little experiment called RAD-PC. And that is an experiment where they're testing technology, computing technology, that has been designed to be more radiation tolerant. Because again, you're on the surface of the moon, you don't have an atmosphere, you're not protected from the solar wind, from solar radiation, from cosmic rays in the way that you are on Earth. And on Earth, all our technology is protected by our atmosphere and our magnetic field. On the moon, it's vulnerable. And if you again want to have things that are on the surface of the moon doing work for weeks or months or decades, you don't want the computer to go on the fritz. You don't want it to break down because of the radiation.
Right.
So this is testing new technology that should be more durable so that, again, in the future, we can build things that will last longer on the surface of the moon and basically do more cool things there for longer without the equipment breaking down.
Ah, yes. Well, thanks for going over these three very intriguing experiments that are being conducted as we speak. So in terms of the images, the imagery, the data that's being sent back by Blue Ghost, how much of a contribution are we getting to just get a better understanding of the moon? Do you think that this is impactful?
I think it is, and I think it's impactful not just because we get to learn a bit more about the environment there. These are the first pictures from this location, so we can learn something new that way. But there's a real inspiration side of it. You know, there's a whole generation of scientists who are a little older than me, who grew up and they saw the moon landings because the Americans publicized them, they covered them.
Yes.
And they were inspired to become scientists as a result of what they saw. And so this kind of imagery has a real impact beyond just the benefit to scientists, because it inspires the next generation who will achieve incredible, wonderful things that we can't predict or expect because they've not happened yet. So there's that side of it. But there's also a very cool science experiment that'll be done with the imagery right at the end of the lifetime of this mission, because it's on the day side of the moon,
yes,
operating quite happily, but at some point night will come, it will get dark and it will get cold, and then this mission will die because it just isn't designed to last through the lunar night time. But at dusk, as the sun sets, they're going to turn their cameras towards the horizon on the moon to look towards that sunset. And what that will allow them to do is get an idea of how much dust there is floating above the surface of the moon, levitating.
Yes.
This is really important. What's happening essentially is the solar radiation's hitting the surface of the moon, and little bits of dust are getting levitated up. They're not escaping, but they float almost like a mini dusty atmosphere, very, very thin. But we need to understand the properties of that dust, what's going on again for that future exploration. Now, this is something that was first observed by the last man on the moon, a guy called Eugene Cernan, who was part of the Apollo 17 mission, walking around on the moon in December 1972. Which, like I say, is 53 years ago now. That's just insane. He saw this dust floating there. It's called the lunar horizon glow.
Yes.
So these images that are coming back, they're going to inspire people. They're beautiful. You know, pointing an image back and looking back up at the Earth and saying, this is the Earth observed from another celestial body. Everybody lives there. We have all these politics and all these arguments, but you're all in this one small house. Maybe you should get along. That's really impactful in and of itself. But we're also going to get scientific benefit from them. And I think it's lovely when you get something that has that cultural impact and that inspirational impact, but also delivers some really cool new knowledge as well.
Yes, yes. So speaking of culture, you know, I mentioned in the intro about the collection of the shijo, the Korean poetry. So what's your take on the inclusion of cultural artifacts in space missions? Do you think they do serve a purpose, or I'm very curious as to what you think about this?
I think it's fabulous. One person that I know really well here in Australia is a fabulous scientist, Professor Alice Gorman, and she counts herself as a space archaeologist. And I mean, how cool is that as a job? And she's spoken to me a lot over the years of the importance of the things we're putting up in space as cultural artifacts. You know, if you think back to different eras in every country's history, something from 200 or 300 years ago that was an everyday item then is now of real fascinating interest to us. It's really important. And yet, for us, we look at the day-to-day things like the things we've landed on the moon, and they are just devices that we use to achieve something. But there'll come a point in the future where people will go, I really wish we could get our hands on these things. I really wish we could preserve them in a museum, because they're a really important part of our culture and our heritage. And what Alice is really interested in is how we can ensure that these things are preserved for future generations. But tied into that, this idea of preserving for the future, of marking our place in the cosmos, and not even necessarily just leaving a record for us, but sending records out into space where if at some point in the future there are other technologically advanced life forms somewhere, they can find out who we were. That's something that's been a part of space exploration for decades. There were these beautiful plaques sent out on the American Pioneer and Voyager missions, which launched in the late 1970s, which essentially contained a "We Are Here" type plot. They contained a picture of a naked human man and a naked human woman on the front, which has obviously led everybody to the joke that the first time we contact aliens, the first thing we do is send them naked selfies. But we're sending these things out into space.
Yes.
With the hope that maybe someday somebody will find them, but it's really about expressing ourselves and saying, this is us, this is who we are, and putting a record of that in the cosmos for future generations of our own or future generations of others. And that's really wonderful and really important. And the fact that this lander doesn't just contain things of Western culture, of American culture, but instead contains international things is really important because it goes back to what I was saying about the picture.
Yes.
We are one world. There's a huge variety of cultures here, but there's no one culture that is more important or valuable than others, and we should recognize all the cultures from around the world. And so to see South Korean poetry represented on here, I think is really important because you want a full reflection of everything that is humanity. So I think it's really beautiful.
Yes, yes. Well, thank you so much for thoroughly explaining the significance of this lunar landing by a blue ghost. And of course, we look forward to seeing more of the data come out. Thanks for explaining it to us. Take care, Professor.
Thank you for having me, and take care.
Absolutely. This was Professor John D. Horner. We talked about the latest lunar landing by this private company, Blue Ghost, there. And there are experiments being done. And what a fascinating, just the idea of it, right? And we have people on the board saying, like, would you like to live on the moon? Who's ready to go? Or for some people, Earth is fine as well. Well, we're going to take a short song break. This is Don't Think Twice, It's All Right by Bob Dylan, as requested by William.
Well, it ain't no use to sit and wonder why, baby, even you don't know by now. And it ain't no use to sit and wonder why, baby, it'll never do somehow. When your rooster crows at the break of dawn, look out your window and I'll be gone. You're the reason I'm a-traveling on, but don't think twice, it's all right. And it ain't no use in turning on your light, babe, the light I never knowed. And it ain't no use in turning on your light, babe, I'm on the dark side of the road. But I wish there was something you would do or say to try and make me change my mind and stay. But we never did too much talking anyway. But don't think twice, it's all right. So it ain't no use in calling out my name, gal, like you never done before. And it ain't no use in calling out my name, gal, I can't hear you anymore. I'm a-thinking and a-wondering, walking down the road. I once loved a woman, a child I am told. I give her my heart, but she wanted my soul. But don't think twice, it's all right. So long, honey, baby, where I'm bound, I can't tell. Goodbye is too good a word, baby, so I just say fare thee well. I ain't a-saying you treated me unkind. You could have done better, but I don't mind. You just kind of wasted my precious time. But don't think twice, it's all right.
Get your local up-to-date news from Korea and abroad right here on Morning Wave in Busan with Catherine. Stay tuned.
For City Insights. I was so eager to get on the mic to welcome Stephanie.
Hello,
good morning.
Hello, happy Thursday.
Yay. Hey, so real quick, you were telling me a story.
Yes.
About a story of discipline in Korea.
Yes.
So how old were you and why were you being punished?
So I was in my second grade in elementary school.
Yes.
And 구구단을 못 외워서 they used to hit me. You know, like with long, like, you know, the Harry Potter wands. They used to hit
for
my
not
hands.
memorizing the 구구단.
So if
the
I
times
got
table.
like yes, or if I got like 2 or 3 wrong, then they would hit me like 2 times, 3 times. And I'd be like, oh no, I don't want to get hit tomorrow. So I would try to memorize it at home.
진짜, that's so bad.
But I used to tell my friends that, and they would tell me that their schools were worse. They used to get hit on their butts. Yeah.
For not memorizing the times table.
So I was like, okay, I'll just get hit on my hands. 네, 저 구구단 외울 수 있어요.
She's like, 98은?
Oh no, 98은.
Stephanie!
Oh no, I'm traumatized, you know?
98?
98은, 57은 35. 98은? 98은 70.
Her hands are shaking.
You know, like in America, this is how I learned it. I used to be like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You know the away 81.
You lost me at the.
You know the 72.
Yeah.
This is how I memorized it with like numbers. In America,
on your
you
hands?
teach you like So then you make like 7 and then 2. And then it's 72.
뭔 얘기예요? I've been.
And then if it's 9 by 9, it's 81. Do you know that? I'll teach you one day.
I don't need it.
No, this is the easiest way to memorize the 9.
When I was like in first grade, no.
Do you know? You know that one, right? So if it's 8, then you put your 8th finger down, then it's 72.
If you say so. Okay.
Okay, we'll move on.
What do you have for us?
All right, so we're going to talk about ocean conservation and volunteer efforts. As we know, marine pollution is becoming an increasingly severe problem around the world. And there are individuals who dedicate their time and effort to protecting our oceans. Did you know that here in Busan, there is a group focused on both ocean cleanup and preserving traditional Haenyeo culture? The organization is called Haenyeo 바다 or Haenyeo and the Sea.
Yes.
And the civic group not only conducts marine cleanups, but also works to protect the livelihood of Haenyeo, the traditional female divers of Korea.
Oh, yes, indeed. And so I'm so curious, what kind of work does Haenyeo and the Sea, what do they do?
Right. So the group conducts cleanup activities twice a month, on the first Saturdays in Gyeoje and the third Saturdays in Yeongdo. So unlike like general beach cleanups, they focus on harbors and coastal areas where Haenyeos work, and their volunteers are called green divers. They participate in both plogging and ploving. Now, can you guess what plogging and ploving are? You probably know the first one.
Yeah, but I'm going to let you explain because we have listeners who probably don't know.
Right.
Yes.
So plogging is an eco-friendly activity that combines jogging with picking up litter, helping to keep our environment clean while staying active. There are a lot of plogging activities and events here in Busan.
Right.
It's a similar concept, but ploving takes this effort underwater. So it's a combination of plogging and diving, where divers collect trash from the ocean to protect marine life. Both activities promote sustainability and encourage people to take an active role in preserving nature.
Ooh.
So, Catherine, have you ever tried plogging or ploving?
I have engaged in picking up litter. I don't know if I was necessarily like jogging along.
And
I was walking.
walking
walking along and picking up a litter. And Tommy is saying 부산에 아직 해녀가 있어요?
Yes, good questions. Yes, there are, and a lot of them they gather to. So let me tell you a little bit more.
Okay.
So the founder of the Haenyeo and the Sea, Ms. Shin Young, initially learned scuba diving for the love of the ocean.
Okay.
Over time, she found out that there is this Haenyeo culture here in Busan, so she was training to become one. However, during her training, she noticed something disturbing.
Right.
More trash than marine life in the water. And this realization led her to take action, first by joining cleanups and later by creating Haenyeo and the Sea as an official nonprofit organization.
What an amazing story. And like how she got her start. The fact that she's leading this great organization, right?
Right. So I met with Ms. Shin Young and asked her about how much trash that she, typically collects in one cleanup and what kinds of waste she generally finds. So let's take a listen.
무게로는 약 한 4에서 500kg 정도입니다. 쓰레기의 양도 놀랍지만 장소마다 나오는 쓰레기의 종류가 다르다는 점이 더 충격적이에요.
네.
예를 들면 저희가 주로 활동하는 영도, 하리항은 인근에 아파트 단지가 있고 어선 정박지가 있고 낚시터가 있습니다. 그러다 보니 낚싯대, 낚시의자, 자전거 바퀴 같은 물건들이 나옵니다. 또 테트라포트나 돌담 사이사이를 자세히 들여다보면 비닐 그리고 플라스틱, 밧줄 조각이 깊숙이 끼어 있어서 빼내는데도 시간이 오래 걸려요. 그런데 한 번 페트병을 주웠는데 라벨을 보니 영어가 쓰여져 있더라고요. 물론 영어가 쓰여져 있는 건 많은데 알고 보니 하와이에서 떠내려온 페트병이었습니다. 바다가 이렇게 연결되어 있다는 걸 직접 눈으로 확인한 순간이었습니다.
Right, so she explains that each month they fill about 40 large sacks provided by Yeongdo's Marine and Fisheries Department. They're not like the big trash cans that we have or trash bags. They're like the big ones and totaling 400 to 500 kilogram. The sheer volume is shocking, but even more surprising is how the type of waste varies by location.
I see.
So at Hari Port in Yeongdo, where apartments, fishing boats, and piers are nearby, they find fishing rods, chairs, and even bicycle wheels, and plastic bags, rope fragments, and other debris get lodged deep in rocks and tetrapods, making removal really difficult. And in Jungni Haenyeo village, where Haenyeos dive, it's covered with plastic bottles, styrofoams, washed in by the waves. One day, she was picking up a bottle and saw an English label. And it had drifted from actually Hawaii, she said. So while Japanese and Chinese bottles are quite common, spotting one from Hawaii was a stark reminder of how connected the ocean is.
Exactly. I mean, that's pretty I don't know, amazing in a bad way. Like the fact that a bottle from Hawaii made its way to the shores of Busan. And so, reminding us once again, connected by the waters, right?
Definitely.
Yes.
I think we should remember this when if we feel like littering, right? So now I want to tell you about her experiences when she was doing these ploughing activities. She shared that a lot of moments she thought it was just too much. But the most shocking was the day she collected multiple dead turtles. During their cleanup, they found a small turtle carcass. And at first she thought, or they assumed that it was a wild sea turtle. But it turned out to be a pet turtle, one that wasn't meant to live in the ocean. But even more disturbing was that it wasn't just one, but several. And they later learned that these turtles had been released into the sea after being used for an event, thinking that it's actually an act of kindness. But they all died because they weren't suited for marine life, so they couldn't survive.
Oh my gosh.
So that day, it really reinforced her that protecting the environment also requires proper ecological understanding. And she emphasized that the ocean doesn't create trash. We do. People do.
We do.
And seeing this firsthand really made her reflect deeply on what more can be done to protect it.
Yes. So, I mean, that's so sad. The whole sea turtles and freshwater, different species, right? So what else can you tell us about 해녀 and the sea, though.
Right. So I know some of the messages coming about 해녀. 해녀 and the sea is not just to clean the sea, but also to preserve the 해녀 way of life. And as we know, 해녀 culture is a significant part of Korea's maritime heritage. And in the past, 해녀 could collect seafood in just about 30 minutes, just a full basket of it. But today, even after hours of diving, their baskets remain half empty, she said. So this is a clear sign of how much the ocean has changed due to pollution and environmental damage.
Yes.
And 해녀 and the sea hopes to reverse this trend by promoting awareness, reducing waste, and keeping the sea clean as well.
Yes, yes. So once again, really inspiring to see individuals like her trying to make a difference, a real difference.
Right.
Right. So if someone out there, if someone has been moved by what they heard right now, if they want to participate in their cleanup activities, how can they do so?
Right. So they can search 해녀와 바다. And I was interested in volunteering and maybe trying like ploving. And Ms. Shin-young told me that I can first learn how to free dive or scuba dive, and it would take about a month, and then I can take part in ploving after.
Okay.
And whether it's plogging along the shore or diving underwater to remove trash, every effort really helps in protecting the ocean. So if you're interested, search 해녀와 바다.
Okay. Well, thanks for letting us know. Umberto says, no, Stephanie, we are more focused on your math trauma.
It was a trauma.
That's kind of hard.
I can't do that. I know that for sure.
7 times 8.
7 times 8, 56.
Yay!
Now I'm like traumatized. I'm like second guessing myself. Is it right? Let me use my fingers.
No.
Okay.
You have it absolutely correct. But thank you for bringing us such a meaningful interview.
Of course.
And we'll check in with you next week.
I'll
Thank you.
see you next week. Bye-bye.
Bye. So you know what? The thing is this. Stephanie is so talented in so many other regards. You know, if her math skills are not like at Tommy's level, let's say, right, engineer, it's okay. She's talented in so many other ways. So let's end our program today with 사랑보다 깊은 상처, 임재범 and 박정현 as requested by Benny. Have a good one, everybody. Bye-bye.
왔어 내가 원한 너였기에 슬픔을 감추며 널 보내줬었지 날 속여가면서 잡고 싶었는지 몰라
부산의 축제 어디까지 즐겨보셨나요? 과거와 현재, 미래가 공존하는 항구도시 부산. 이곳 부산은 계절을 물들이는 다양한 축제로 늘 풍성합니다. 봄의 시작을 알리는 봄꽃 축제부터 부산의 여름을 만끽하는 바다축제, 전 세계 영화인들이 모이는 부산국제영화제와 새로운 시작의 해맞이 축제까지. 부산의 축제는 우리의 열정을 가득 담고 있습니다. 바쁜 일상은 잠시 뒤로하고 특별한 시간을 선물 받는 바로 이곳 부산에서 우리의 삶은 축제가 됩니다. 축제로 하나 되는 부산, 여러분은 어떤 축제를 기다리시나요? 이 캠페인은 대선공익재단과 BFM 부산영어방송이 함께합니다. 오늘 부산 지역 미세먼지 농도
Air quality in Busan is currently rated bad.
High fine dust concentrations are
Taking a look at the fine dust level is getting higher. So, this is what we can do to protect ourselves from the growing level of fine dust. First, check out the fine dust level before you go out and make sure to wear a mask when the fine dust level is high. Also, don't forget to wash your hands when you return home. Even if the fine dust is not visible, it doesn't mean your hands are clean enough. Lastly, follow the alternate no driving system to reduce the fine dust from cars. These are very simple yet powerful ways to protect ourselves from the fine dust. Let's all take part in this campaign and stay healthy.